All right. Welcome to this week's episode of Doing Justice Brings Joy. I'll be your host today, William Adams, here replacing Stella Adams as this is her birthday weekend. And so, happy birthday to mom. She is taking the day off, taking the weekend off to celebrate. So today it's going to be me and Thomas, and we're going to be discussing the North Carolina election results, as well as a bit of information about the ward system and the at-large system here in North Carolina, and how those have affected elections. And beyond that, we may have a bit of discussion about the national elections as they come up. So, Thomas, can you hear me?
Yes, yes, I can
Um,
hear you. Still loading up the results, and so I'll get
okay,
those.
so while you're loading up the results, can you talk to us a little bit about the two different systems we have in North Carolina of the ward system and the at-large system?
Yes. So the elections that we're discussing today are municipal elections. That is, elections for each city. And so for a city on its city council or equivalent, they actually go by quite a few names, but they can be elected either by at large, in which case they council members can come from anywhere within the city and they are voted on by all members of the city, or they can be elected in districts or wards. And so, in most uh, places that use wards to elect some or all of their city council members, these tend to be the larger, more populated cities. Uh, the council member must live in that ward, and the voters in that ward vote for the council member.
Okay.
And so, most cities will have that as their criteria. And so, one very notable exception is actually Durham, where we are. And so in Durham, the council member must live in the ward, but the uh, votes for that council seat are from everyone, within the city limits.
Right.
And so it will have the council members for each ward voted on this way. And Durham also has several at-large council members, as do many other cities with wards.
Okay. And so, how do you see that affecting elections and turnout? Do you see cities with at large have more turnout? Do you see cities with a ward system have more turnout?
Well, I will say that not so much turnout is affected, but the number of people who can vote. And so,
Mhm.
for an at-large seat, of course, the voters are from everywhere in the city, and so Durham would also be like that, as I uh, mentioned. And so, what happens in uh, council cities that have wards is that the voters in each ward will vote for a council member, and so that will be a much smaller portion of the city that will vote. And so, in some cases, the individual wards may be demographically different than the city as a whole in some way, and so that would allow that particular ward to have a different city council member elected potentially than would happen if the entire city were voting on each one. And as I said, many cities of the larger cities that have wards will also have city council members who are elected at large. And so I believe that, when these results load, if I can get them to load, then it will have.
All right. So generally, the ward system affects the makeup of the council. For example, let's take Morrisville, right, which has a substantial Indian Asian population, and one of their races, one of the ward races, was between two members of that community. And so while Morrisville does have a large black, large white population as the rest of the state, do you see the benefit? I guess the benefit would be for Morrisville specifically because they do have a very rich Asian community, Indian American community. They were able to get representation on their council ward.
Okay, well, I will actually answer that question by just taking a look at what you are talking about, so that we can actually see some
Let me add that to the
genuine
stage.
data, as opposed to just us talking about it, since I've just got it loaded. So you mentioned
Morrisville, just because
yes, and so you
that's
mentioned Morrisville, and so yes, and so we will find Morrisville. Okay, now if you see here, the have a, as you said, a very significant Asian population, which is unusual for most areas of the state. And so,
right.
okay, and so on the left, you will have for, the town as a whole, Morrisville. The top is race, and bottom you can see by political affiliation. And so if I click, so you can see there's District 1. District 2. And so I think, just from clicking, you can see that the Asian population is, significantly less in, say, District 3 than in the
Right.
first two that we saw. And if you go, here is District 4. And in wait, let me see, this is, okay, yeah, right, let me do that. Okay, yes. Oh, I just had to click here because Morrisville actually has part of it is in Durham County as well as Wake County. So, yeah. So that's District 2 again. This is District 4. And so I think you can see that they are, somewhat different demographically. And I think, and also, I think politically, I think there are few more Republicans in District 3 than in District 1.
but it's
2 or 4. And so, yeah, I don't know if that has or has not, made a difference. But I mean, you can see that it could. And, we can look at, other cities where, this may be even more pronounced than Morrisville.
Well,
So,
now that you have this all pulled up, why don't we go ahead and do a quick run through of the elections as a whole? And then we can circle back to ward versus at large.
okay. All right. So, if you go here, and so here will be some of our basic results. And so I think I have right now the overall results for the Durham City Council, say the Ward 1. And so I can go to A. Hold on, wait on that. So these are the results for City Council race in Durham. These are the overall results. And Durham is actually particularly interesting because in wards 1 and 2, the incumbent was actually defeated. And so I have the primary listed above. And so I think that if the results on the here and here are the general election results, that I'm looking at. But if you look, above, this was foreshadowed by the primary in which the challengers both had, the advantage there.
Yeah.
I think Ward 2 is actually, quite a surprise, as if you see the margin in the general election is much, much greater than it was in the primary, which was actually, fairly close. Although, and so it appears that, only a few additional votes went to the incumbent, and was actually the mayor pro tem. And so he will soon be, leaving the council. And so in Ward 1 was a close in the primary, and also close in the general election, although not as close. And so in Ward 3, the incumbent prevailed handily, as did the mayor. He was reelected, and you can see that I have, for the mayor's race, since mayors are every 2 years, have, how he did 2 years ago, and so it was, a bit less than there, but still, very comfortable reelected. And so I think that's the city of Durham. And so if there,
I think
a lot of races that you can take a look at if you are interested. So since you mentioned Morrisville, I'll go ahead and start Fair.
All right. All right.
Okay. So let me see. Let me take out some of the ones. Okay. I think you will see that some of the. And so I think the races. Let me see this one. Hide. Hide that race because that race was actually from 2 years ago.
Okay.
So the races from this year you can see is for the mayor and three and the at-large town council, as well as two of the
District 2 and
yes.
District 4. All right. And you have the incumbent list at the top, correct?
No, the one listed top is the
Just the victor.
winner, the one with the most. They're listed in order of votes received, so that it's easier to see who prevailed.
Okay, so in the mayor's race, who was incumbent?
I actually don't know for Morrisville, and so yeah, I know Durham, and maybe like a couple other cities. Like I think I saw in Charlotte, but I think for many of the races I don't actually know,
No.
because as you can see, the vast majority of cities and towns in North Carolina had municipal elections of some type. So of course we cannot decide who are the incumbents on all of them, and so but I think that's something if you want to.
Yeah. Well, I see that Harrison Kissling won. That's the person I met, full disclosure. And so I see also in Ward 2, Ashit Patel won. And let me quickly do this.
All right.
Hold on 1 second. I'm just bringing something else up. So I think in Ward 2, I think the person, the mayor, who I believe is. Sorry, just give me a moment. Yep. So, Kali is the mayor of Mooresville, and I do believe Ashit Patel was the person he endorsed in District 2. And so this looks like, at least for Mooresville, a win for the mayor's political sphere. So this is a very favorable outcome for the mayor-elect and incumbent mayor who was reelected. So this was his reelection.
Okay.
I believe we also were focusing on or highlighting Edgecombe and Nash County, Rocky Mount.
Yes, because Rocky Mount actually they had their elections in October, but the truth is that there was a runoff, which yes took place in one of the seats. So I will pull that up.
Okay. So this is the runoff here.
Yes, and so there's the runoff there, and so let me do that.
Now, weirdly enough, it looks like there should be 3 people in this runoff, but I guess that's not how they do it.
Yes, well, I think that the way this system works is that yes, since there's that the top two advance to the runoff, and since that was the election, and it appears that yes, by a small margin at this point, less than 30 votes, it appears that Charles Robinson has prevailed, and he led the primary by a greater margin than that, and so
62 votes, yeah, but only.
So I think yes, one thing you can see is that with the ward system is that in Rocky Mount, it's a smaller city, but it does have a population of, I think like 20, 30,000 or so. And so, so you have, city council members decided, yes, with literally fewer than 750 people actually, voted for this seat.
Yeah. And that's important, especially for elections in general in North Carolina. I mean, if you look at Bronson Williams, 20 votes kept him from making the runoff, right? If he had 21 more votes, 21 people, he would have been in the runoff, and the actual election was decided by, what is that?
Yeah.
Is it 19 or
I think I do have to mention, at this point that these aren't the final official results. If I'm not mistaken, I think the county canvassing may be, occurring today. So these are not the final results.
But even still, going back to the previous election, which is, clearly done, like Bronson Williams and Carl Rivas, he won by 20 votes. That's what determined the outcome. In North Carolina, 20 to 50 people can swing elections. What did Judge Beasley lose by? Wasn't it like 30 votes or something?
No, it was a few hundred votes, but of course, that was for a state Supreme Court seat. And
right,
so,
but it was only like a couple people per county. Yeah.
Yeah, so of course it's, quite unusual for statewide races to be, decided by such small margins. But as you say, in North Carolina, this has happened more than once. They've had, races, going into recounts, and we may or may not see something similar next year when they have another election for state Supreme Court as well as one for the United States Senate.
Yes, and again, this is why every election matters in North Carolina, and B, why gerrymandering and redistricting really matters, because we have a lot of very close, very purple counties in North Carolina where elections can swing both ways. That's a good thing. We have a strong enough libertarian and Green Party that they can both be on the ballot in North Carolina. And while I think only once has one of them actually gotten elected out of a county, the possibility does exist, and they are well represented in many counties. Even the Constitution Party, well representative in many counties. I believe that is a good thing in North Carolina, but it's something like that is at risk with a lot of the plans to redraw lines, gerrymander, and redistrict in the state. That is why elections matter. That is why board of elections matter. That is why your districting and redistricting for votes matters. Because we have a lot of tight races like we see here. What other counties were we looking at? We looked at Durham, we looked at Morrisville. Well, Morrisville was more my thing. But Edgecombe, Nash. Where else were we looking? We weren't looking at Wake, it's too big.
Well, here's what I'll do. I'll show you
Charlotte.
I'll show you what we have to look at. If you see,
yeah.
I think, most of this, the charts that I'll show you, they may mention, some of the early votes because, those are things that we're able to come in and, show in more detail because those details exist. And so, like, you can't get the final details for the general election until after the county canvass, the results are certified, and then the Board of Elections can update, some of those data points with the final information. And so what I'll show you here is, if you look here, these are on the left are the, number of registered voters in each
county,
city.
Mm-hmm.
And so city, it goes, it said, on down, and so you can see there's Morrisville, and so Rocky Mount, and so you can now see, some of the
Chapel Hill, Gastonia, again.
Yeah. So many onto like the very largest cities. On the right are the number of early voters who were in, each of these places that had elections. As you can see, places like Raleigh and Winston-Salem, for instance, are not here because they did not have elections. And so, and you'll see, that, the early voters is, quite a bit less. And the total voters are also quite a bit less than the number of registered voters. And so if I go back, and so here we will take a look at Charlotte, because they also had their elections. And so I'll just pull them all for Mecklenburg County because the truth is there are actually a lot of elections, not only in Charlotte, but of course, if you see the Charlotte elections, they're actually different because Charlotte has partisan elections for its city council and mayor's races. Most cities and towns in North Carolina do not. The elections are nonpartisan.
Right.
And so that's why, you saw like the brown color. Of course, these are the Board of Education elections. And so there are a lot of elections in Mecklenburg County. And so not only in Charlotte, but we can discuss that later. But if you see the results are that the Democrats, who I believe were the incumbents, prevailed handily over their Republican rivals. And this is the at large. These are the
okay. So these are
the
multiple at large seats.
Yes, and so you can see below. This is the Democratic primary where you can see the candidates prevailed, handily there also. And you see for the districts, you see in District 1 and 2, the Democrats ran unopposed. And so in District 1, the primary was, effectively the actual election. And in District 2, the Malcolm Graham appears to have been unopposed and did not have a primary or general election opponent.
Oh, okay.
And so,
how often does that happen in North Carolina? I know there are some states where it happens more often, but how often are municipal elections unopposed, just statewide, if you had to guess?
There are some seats that were unopposed. I think in Rocky Mount, even one of the seats on the ballot, the candidate was unopposed. I didn't show the results for the first election in, Rocky Mount, but yes, one of the candidates there was unopposed, and so that does happen. And so I think one thing that a ward system may do is make it say more likely that a popular candidate, in a certain ward, may not face primary or general election challenges if they have a high popularity. Whereas, say in at-large seats or for, say, a mayor, it may be more likely that someone in that city or town would, feel the need to oppose, even a popular candidate. So I think that is, one thing that can happen in wards. And so you can see that the Democratic candidate prevails handily in districts 3 and in 4. And so 5. And so I think if you look at 5, actually, 5 is actually more interesting because the primary in 5 was actually very close, decided by fewer than 40 votes. So and so when you have decided by fewer than 35 to 40 votes, then you have, that's very close. But the general election, the Democratic candidate was unopposed. So I think, this shows that, in primaries, particularly in partisan primaries, they can be different. And if you see that in District 6, the Democrat prevailed over the Republican, but here the Republican had a significant support.
Yeah.
And in District 7, the Republican was actually unopposed there. And so I think, that is one thing that having, districts, wards, can make a difference, because in an at-large election, if all of the seats were, voted at large, it's doubtful that there would have been any Republicans selected, as you saw with, say, the at-large seats and also even the City of Charlotte mayor, where I believe she's the incumbent in Laos, and so she prevailed by quite a margin. So I think if you
what is yellow?
Yellow is libertarian, and so yes, I didn't list the party names because one, most elections don't have them, and two, those that do, most are Republican or Democrat, and so I can use the colors. But yes, yellow is libertarian. So,
okay. Thank you, Rob Yates, for proving my point that I made earlier. My point was validated.
Okay, and so since we're mentioning some of the districts, especially the partisan makeup of them, we'll go to Charlotte, and you'll see here these are the registered voters by board, and you can see if you look, as the top is race, but at the bottom is the partisanship, and you can see that say Republicans are not well represented in the first districts, or even District 4. I think if you look at District 6, you can see that the Republican and Democratic registration is actually very close. I think you see it's demographically also different, but as far as their partisanship, I think the ones we saw before had Democrats much over Republicans, and the registration in District 7, the Republicans have an advantage in registration there also.
Interesting.
And so if I go to the next one, and these are, say, the people who voted early. And so I think, all in all, and so I think there is a greater tendency for Democrats to vote early, especially in those districts where you didn't see a strong Republican opponent in, those city council races.
Right.
But you can see the early votes favored the Democrat even in District 6 by about 1,000 vote difference, more or less. And even in District 7, where there was not a Democratic Party opponent, there were more registered Democrats who voted early in that district. And so I would be interested to see, when all the data is out, what the rate of people who actually voted, in that district, was. And so if there had been a Democratic Party opponent, if, they could have had an opportunity to succeed in that race. And so I think, that's something that's interesting in the Charlotte council races. And so I think one thing that I think if I, go back, through here, and so you can see, number of registered voters. If you look, the next one, you can see, by county. And so this is important. One, the elections are organized by county. And so, like, the voting sites are by county. And so I think we saw this with the elections in Rocky Mount. And so even this runoff was a ward that was in both Edgecombe and Nash counties, and so yes, I may return to that when we do Rocky Mount. And so if you look at, say, the counties, and so at the bottom you'll see, like, for each county, the various cities and towns in that county. And so I have Mecklenburg listed, Charlotte, and so we'll see, Wake County, because it has, quite a few. Raleigh did not have an election, but if you see, like, the early voters in Wake County, you'll see that the other places did have elections. And if you go to the bottom, you'll see that there's even someone who voted from Durham, and then you can see that there are, a few, city of Durham voters who live in Wake County. I think there may be, and so I think there are a few city of Raleigh voters who live in Durham County, and I think there's actually a substantial number of Durham County voters who are in the city of Chapel Hill. And so I can show you that if you're interested in seeing that, or we can move on.
You can go ahead and show that.
Okay, yeah, we'll do it. I think it's easier to see municipality and county, so we go Chapel Hill. You'll see most in orange, but a couple of thousand, Chapel Hill voters are from Durham. And if you look at,
and do you know what parts of the city that is, just for the record?
What did you say?
Do you know what parts of the city, for the record, are in Charlotte and in Wake County?
What parts of the city of Chapel Hill would be in Durham County?
No, what parts of Durham are in Chapel Hill? What parts of Durham are in Wake County? Like over by where's?
I don't know that offhand. I know that, and so I will actually show one more thing, is that if you scroll down, you will see that there are, in cities such as, say, Raleigh or Cary, there are, several thousand. And at point, you'll see that, there are a few thousand. But I'm going to scroll down to Rocky Mount, because Rocky Mount has over 28,000 registered voters from Nash County, but over 10,000 registered voters in Edgecombe County. So, yes, Rocky Mount, is really split between two counties in a way that, the other cities that we've seen weren't. They have, maybe a small part, but, in Rocky Mount, it's, there are substantial parts in both counties. And so I think that we saw that, with the elections. And so if I go forward, I can probably show a few the details. And so if you look at the voting site, these are the early voters by, where they voted. This is Mecklenburg County. And as you can see, while most are, in Charlotte, there are quite a few people who are, in these other cities and towns who had elections and who went to vote.
Right.
And so, yeah, and so I think if you see, like, in Durham County, you have the early voters by which, voting site they voted at. And so you'll see that a few people from Chapel voted in the Chapel Hill election, because they live in Durham County. So you can see where
South Regional Library. Okay.
They voted early, and even a few in Morrisville.
East Regional Library for those in Wake County.
Yeah, and so I'm actually a bit surprised that there are people from Raleigh, but I imagine that they may be updating their registration, and so
True.
because that is something you can do at the voting site. So let's see, other counties you want to see where they voted early. Let's see, Wake County. So this is all of them. So we'll go with Morrisville, where most of them voted there. And so I think you look at
that includes Gardner, Apex, Cary.
Yeah, like the other things. Yeah, as you can see, some of these voting sites are in different parts of Wake County, so that
Can you check in on Asheville?
uh
Or was there elections there?
I believe that there would not have been, and so
Okay.
I will yeah.
Okay, that's fine.
You would have seen it, if it were.
Greensboro?
I don't. What did you say?
Greensboro?
Yeah, we'll look at Greensboro, and so I think so. Looking there, we'll move here where you can actually look by city and not county. So we'll do it that way. We want Greensboro. Okay, yeah, these are where the people from Greensboro voted in their elections. And if you go back, you see this is, Guilford County. Yeah, those from Greensboro. And so I do. And so I think that most of the people were from Greensboro. As I don't know if, I think High Point, did not have their election this cycle, and I think that Burlington, of course, is mostly in Alamance County, so only a few people would vote, and I think these other smaller towns, of course, only a few people would vote, and so.
Okay.
So, but you do see that yes, there are people who are voting in the various areas. So let me see. We'll take a look at and so this is Rocky Mount,
right?
And so you see Rocky Mount there. People from Edgecombe County who these are the early voters.
Yeah.
And then there are people from Nash County who voted early. And so I think if we return to
and I think this will be the last thing we check into.
Okay. Yeah, I just want to show Rocky Mount voters for, the two counties. And so, I'm going to try to arrange that. And so here are the elections in Mount. And so if you go to Edgecombe County, you will see that there were and so if you'll see that as I said, one of the races of Rocky Mount was unopposed. And
Right.
so but in the runoff you'll see that the prevailing candidate, Tom Robeson, he actually had, quite a bit more support in Edgecombe County than in Nash County. So if you go to Nash County, you'll see that he actually had less support both in the primary and in the general. And you'll see in the
That
primary he was even in third place and not in second. And so I think that is an interesting.
that is interesting, and that is interesting if the two counties have slightly different political leanings and yet share a city.
Yes, and so even in like the same ward, as you say, because they're two different counties, and so they can have different parts. I mean, even in the same city, and so
Yeah.
so I think if we go on, and so if you want, say, to track, the voting site, the early votes.
Yeah.
So here are, how many people voted each day, and and this is breaking down all the voting sites.
Right.
Of course, since I started with Charlotte, you can see there are a lot of voting sites where people can vote. And the next one you can see, this is a cumulative. That is how many, not each day, but the total, adding day by day. And this is Chapel Hill. And so we can see that most of them voted in Orange County, where you can see there were, a few early voters who were from Durham County.
Right.
And so voted in the Durham areas. And so I think we've, seen those. So I think is there, anything else you want to look at in these final few minutes before we?
Well, hold on a second. I think. Hello.
Hey there, it's Mark. I was just checking on you and Stella, seeing how the show was going and everything like that. But looks like y'all are having some serious analysis about the elections and how they went. So I know a lot of people were paying attention to the Durham race, and Leo won again. And but it looks like it was half the states had half their winners, and half the states didn't have half their winners. Because I know.
Yes. So with Durham, you had Matt Kopak won.
Right.
Sheriff Burris won.
I will. Let me return to
Durham, but Sheriff Burris won, which means Middleton and Freeman are no longer on the council, but Mayor Williams does remain mayor-elect, and this is Chelsea Cook.
And Chelsea Cook, right, who was the person that took his seat after he decided to go for mayor.
Correct. Is that everybody? Kopak, Burris, Cook.
And that's it.
Yeah. So
okay. All right. And so I want to highlight.
And I didn't realize until I saw y'all's banner going across that it's Stella's birthday. So happy birthday to Miss Stella and everything.
Yeah, we're going to send her off with a song at the end of the stream. But I think the last thing we wanted to discuss after going over the election data is, so in the wake of the Target boycott, with the government shut down, and it's looking like we're not going to have a government for the rest of the year. I think Congress is about to call it for the holidays.
Oh, so there won't be so it'll be shut down to the first of the year is what it looks like?
At least it's
Wow.
looking like we're not going to get the government back open before, because they're going to go home to their holidays. But in wake of the Target boycott, there is now a strong push, kind of gaining momentum of Red Friday instead of Black Friday. We're not doing a bunch of shopping out for Thanksgiving, Christmas. Like, that might be the new phase of the protest of just a lot of people are like, government shut down, everything's the cuts, the inflation. We might just need to sit this one out and, send cards.
Yeah. I heard somebody say that it might be time to go back to the real old school and do homemade gifts and handmade gifts and all along those lines.
I heard homemade gifts and I was like, hey, apples and oranges. We're gonna go back to giving out apples and oranges.
Yeah, that always works and everything. Have y'all done any statistics on this show or any of the other ones as to the impact of the loss of SNAP? Because that's really hurting a lot of people.
We're looking into that. I don't think, because we're in the first week.
Right.
So I think next week we'll actually start seeing the data. Right now, I think we just know how much money isn't going out, how many families that aren't going out. And I know there's supposed to be $100 million or something in an emergency fund that a judge ordered the Trump administration to allocate. Right. But the Trump administration only wishes to partially allocate. There was a executive memo sent out from USDA saying to grocery stores, saying that they cannot have discounted prices. There were some grocery stores that were going to pay out of pocket and do some in-house discounts. Right. For people whose EBT has not come in this month, just to try to be helpful. USDA came out, sent an executive memo. No, that is unlawful. You cannot set a discount for people who whose food stamps did not come in. Prices must remain the same for all people. Wow. And so even when the grocery stores wanted to do something that they could do, that letter went out shutting that down. So,
and I know a lot of people are, because my aunt actually just dropped me off, some are going, and she's been doing that for a couple of weeks now, are going to the churches, because I know here in Durham, yes. Cal Temple, I think White Rock, and there's another church, but there's some of them in both Durham, Raleigh, and every place that are giving away massive food giveaways to try to help people get through the SNAP and other problems that they might be having.
And that might be the shift for the holiday season of, it's like, hey, don't go buy a bunch of gifts, maybe buy some food and donate to a food bank.
Right.
And that's a positive you can do this holiday season instead of going out and just buying a bunch of toys and knickknacks and yeah. So
that makes sense.
It's a tough situation, and it's looking like we might not have a government this year. And what's really odd is there's still a representative who hasn't been sworn in.
Yeah, the representative that hasn't been sworn in, and a lot of people,
Arizona,
and a lot of people last Friday were upset because in the middle of a shutdown, the current person in the White House decided to have a kind of a let them eat cake type party in Mar-a-Lago, where he was dressing up in costumes and doing a lot of
shit. It was literally a Great Gatsby party.
Right.
It's literally themed after the Great Gatsby. It shows how you can be both literate and illiterate at the same time.
Exactly. Well, we'll let y'all to wrap it up and everything like that. But yeah, we're just popping into the last time where I wasn't producing some of the other shows, and Stella knows that if I get a chance, I'll pop in. But I'll let y'all get y'all's birthday song in. But yeah, we're glad to see you two holding the fort down while Stella's out there celebrating.
Yep. All right, thank you, sir. All right, so, but yeah, so again, I can say officially that Doing Justice Brings Joy does support the holiday blackout, where at least the Black community, if you can, right, hold back on going to these stores and just flooding the economy with money for corporations that are laying off workers, aren't paying people living wages. Again, with inflation what it is, and the minimum wage still being $7.25, just unreasonable. So because of the state of our country, because of the state of our economy, there is a call to action to save money this holiday season. Save money. If you can avoid traveling, do so. Sorry about that. If you can avoid buying gifts, if you want to shop for dinner, support your local food pantries, but also support your local farmers market. Buy local, right? Buy local fruits and vegetables. Buy local foods, so that you are putting your money into your own community. So with that, I think I'm gonna take this down, Thomas, and we're gonna sign off, and with a very special presentation for Miss Stella Adams. And so let me do this here. See you guys next week on this week's rendition of Doing Justice.
Someone who stands for good could not have a day that would. He said, aside from recognition, this can never be. Just because some cannot see, the dream is missing. That they should make it become an illusion. December time will bring.